There is a sound the African savanna makes just before dawn, a low, breathing stillness that is not quite silence, not quite sound, but something in between, like the continent itself is exhaling after a long and ancient night. Welcome to Sleepy Science, where we take the wide, living world and bring it slowly, gently, through the dark with you. If this channel has ever kept you company on a quiet evening, we'd love it if you subscribed, left a comment telling us what you'd like to explore next, and if you'd like to support what we do, there's a Patreon link in the description below. It means more than you might imagine. And now, let's go softly. Africa is the second largest continent on Earth. It covers roughly 30 million square kilometers, which is a number so large, it almost refuses to settle in the mind. But what that number means, in the most practical and alive sense, is that Africa contains within its borders an extraordinary range of environments. From the rolling grasslands of the Serengeti to the dense green weight of the Congo basin, from the cracked pale salt flats of the Danakil Depression to the cold, mist-wrapped slopes of the Rwenzori Mountains. Each of these places shaped the animals that live there, pressed them into their particular shapes, over millions and millions of years, the way water shapes stone, slowly, patiently, without rushing anything. The animals of Africa are not simply beautiful. They are solutions. Every horn and hide and habit is an answer to a question the landscape kept asking. The African elephant is the largest land animal on Earth, and there is something almost impossible about standing near one. Not just because of its size, though the size is real and immense and quietly humbling, but because of the way it moves. An elephant walks with a kind of patience that makes you feel, if you are watching closely, that it has been walking for a very long time and has made a kind of peace with that. A fully grown African bush elephant can weigh up to 7,000 kilograms, which is roughly the same as a small school bus, and yet when it walks across soft ground, it does so almost quietly, its enormous feet spreading wide to distribute the weight, like snowshoes, like something that knows it is heavy and has learned to carry itself gently. Elephants can live for up to 70 years in the wild, and the eldest females, the matriarchs, hold within them something that functions very much like memory. They remember waterholes visited decades ago. They remember routes across dry country. They remember other elephants. There is good scientific evidence that elephants grieve. When a member of the herd dies, the others will often remain near the body for hours, sometimes days, touching it gently with their trunks, standing close. They have been observed returning to the bones of the dead, long after the body has decomposed, lingering, touching, in a behavior the researchers have not found a cleaner word for than mourning. I find something in that detail that I keep coming back to. The image of an elephant standing quietly in the grass, beside bones it somehow recognizes, in a landscape that shows no trace of the life that was once there. The world is full of feelings we have not yet found the right words for. The African elephant's trunk is, without much competition, one of the more quietly remarkable structures in the natural world. It contains around 40,000 individual muscles, which gives it a precision and sensitivity that almost defies description. An elephant can use its trunk to uproot a full-grown tree and then, moments later, to pick up a single blade of grass. The trunk can hold up to 8 liters of water at one time, and elephants use it to drink, to bathe, to spray dust onto their skin as a kind of sunscreen, to smell. And the sense of smell in an elephant is said to be 4 times more sensitive than that of a bloodhound. The trunk is also a social instrument. Elephants greet each other by touching trunks. They comfort young calves by resting a trunk gently against them. It is, in other words, both a hand and a voice at the same time. The giraffe, Africa's tallest animal, reaches heights of up to 6 meters, which means that a giraffe could, theoretically, peer into the window of a 2-story building with only mild effort. Its neck alone can be nearly 2 meters long and contains exactly the same number of vertebrae as a human neck. 7. Each of those 7 bones is simply enormously elongated, stretched out over millions of years by the slow, patient pressure of evolution, favoring the animals that could reach just a little higher, until eventually the giraffe arrived at the shape it now carries across the open plains. The giraffe's heart is proportionally large. It has to be, because it needs to pump blood all the way up that long neck to reach the brain. The heart of an adult giraffe can weigh up to 11 kilograms and beats at a rate fast enough to keep blood pressure high enough to do what seems, when you think about it, almost mechanically impossible. And yet it works. It has been working for millions of years. When a giraffe drinks water, it faces a different kind of problem. Because its legs are so long, it cannot simply lower its head to the surface. It has to splay its front legs wide, spreading them apart, lowering itself into an awkward, wide-legged stance that looks, honestly, a little undignified for an animal of such quiet elegance. In this position, it is also at its most vulnerable. Drinking for a giraffe is a small act of bravery. It looks up constantly, checking the surrounding grass, before lowering its head again to the water's surface, then checking once more. There is something quietly moving about that, about the fact that even the tallest animal on the plain must sometimes make itself small and open, just to stay alive. The lion is perhaps the animal most associated with Africa in the human imagination, and there is a reason for that. Something about the lion carries weight in a way that is hard to explain and easy to feel. Lions are the only cats that live in social groups called prides, and these groups are organized around a core of related females, sisters, mothers, daughters, who do most of the hunting and hold the social structure together. Male lions, with their famous manes, are often thought of as the rulers of the pride, But the reality is quieter than that. The females are the ones who know where to find water. When the dry season comes, who teach the cubs to hunt, who maintain the relationships that keep the group intact. The male's role is closer to protection than dominance. His size and his mane are a signal to other males, a quiet, dark advertisement of his presence and his health. A lion's roar can be heard from 8 kilometers away. At close range, the sound is described by those who have been near it as something that doesn't just enter the ears, it enters the chest. Lions roar to announce their territory, to call to pride members, to communicate across the open grassland. In the dark. They roar most often at night and in the early morning, when the air is cool and carries sound well. If you have ever heard a recording of a lion roaring and felt something shift slightly in your body, some old animal thing that is not your imagination, that response is ancient. It was woven into human ancestors, long before we had words for it. Despite their image as fearless predators, lions sleep for up to 20 hours a day. 20 hours. They spend most of their lives lying in the shade, paws heavy against the warm earth, breathing slowly, eyes half closed against the afternoon light. They hunt in the cooler hours, at dusk, at dawn, sometimes through the night. And between hunts, they rest with a thoroughness that most creatures can only aspire to. There is something quietly funny about that. If you let yourself notice it, the king of the beasts is, for most of the day, simply asleep. The cheetah is built for one thing above all others, and that thing is speed. It is the fastest land animal on Earth, capable of reaching speeds of up to 112 kilometers per hour in short bursts, and it can accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in roughly 3 seconds, faster than most sports cars. But what makes the cheetah's speed remarkable is not just the number itself, but what the cheetah has given up to achieve it. The cheetah's body is a machine optimized for velocity, and that optimization came at a cost. Its claws are not fully retractable, like those of other cats. They remain partly extended, acting like the spikes on a runner's shoe, gripping the ground during a chase. But this means the cheetah cannot use its claws as weapons in the way a leopard or lion can. It is less armored, less defended, more fragile than the other large cats of the savannah. After a chase, the cheetah is often exhausted. Its body temperature spikes dangerously high, and it sometimes has to rest for up to 30 minutes before it can eat its kill, during which time other predators may steal what it has caught. The cheetah is simultaneously the fastest and one of the most vulnerable of Africa's great hunters. Cheetahs are also unusually quiet for large cats. They do not roar. Instead, they chirp, a sound so birdsong-like that many people hearing a recording of it without context would never guess what was making it. They also purr, which places them among the cats, like the domestic cat beside you on the sofa, that can purr on both the inhale and the exhale. there is something in that unexpected softness that I find quietly wonderful. The fastest animal on Earth communicates with a sound, like a sparrow in a warm garden. The leopard is perhaps the most adaptable of Africa's big cats, and its adaptability is the key to its quiet success. Where lions need open grassland and cheetahs need flat ground and open air, the leopard can live almost anywhere. In dense forest, on rocky hillsides, along riverbanks, even in the dry scrub at the edge of the Sahara. It has been spotted in the mountains of Morocco and in the green corridors of South Africa's Cape. It can survive in places where other large predators cannot. Part of this success comes from what it eats. The leopard is not particular. It will take prey ranging from large antelope down to beetles if the situation demands it. And once it has made a kill, it has a habit that sets it apart from almost everything else on the savanna. It carries its prey up into a tree. A leopard can haul a carcass heavier than itself up the vertical trunk of an acacia, using only its jaws and its forelimbs, a feat of strength that researchers have compared, in relative terms, to a human lifting a full-grown cow over their head and placing it on a rooftop. The hippopotamus is an animal that contains many contradictions. It looks slow. It is not slow. A hippo on land can run at up to 30 kilometers per hour, which is faster than most humans could ever manage, and faster than many people would imagine. When looking at an animal that appears to be mostly a very large and slightly grumpy barrel. Hippos are considered one of the most dangerous large animals in Africa, not because they hunt, but because they are territorial and unpredictable, and enormously, inescapably powerful. They spend most of their days in water, submerged up to their eyes, staying cool in the heat of the African afternoon, and then they emerge at night to graze on the surrounding grass, sometimes traveling several kilometers from the water's edge to find what they need. Despite their bulk and their reputation, hippos are not carnivores. They are almost entirely herbivorous, living mainly on grass, and they have something rather extraordinary about their skin. They secrete a reddish, oily liquid that was once thought to be blood sweat, which sounds alarming and is also, admittedly, a slightly alarming thing to look at. But it is neither blood nor sweat. It is a natural sunscreen and antiseptic, protecting the hippo's sensitive skin from UV radiation and helping wounds to heal in an environment full of bacteria and heat. The hippo, in other words, has its own built-in pharmaceutical, and it looks, from the outside, deeply unsettling. The African wild dog, also called the painted wolf or the African hunting dog, is one of the continent's most endangered large carnivores, with fewer than 6,500 individuals remaining in the wild. It is also, by some measures, the most successful hunter of any large predator in Africa, with a kill success rate that far exceeds that of lions or leopards. Lions succeed in roughly 20 to 25% of hunts. African wild dogs succeed in roughly 80%. The key to this success is not strength or speed, but something more compelling. They cooperate. Wild dogs hunt in packs and coordinate their movements with a precision that can only come from deep social bonds and what appears to be, at least functionally, shared decision-making. Before a hunt, the pack often engages in what is described as a greeting ceremony, a flurry of contact, squeaking, and touching that researchers believe may function as a kind of rallying vote, a collective decision to move out. Wild dogs also care for their sick and their old, in ways that are rare among predators. Pack members that are injured or unwell are fed by their companions. Other dogs will regurgitate food for them, rather than leaving them behind. The old and the infirm are not abandoned. They are carried, in a sense, by the pack. There is something in that sits quietly with me, that this animal, which humanity has largely overlooked and in many places persecuted, practices a kind of care that we tend to think of as a uniquely human quality. The black rhinoceros and the white rhinoceros are both found in Africa, and neither name refers to the animal's color. Both species are gray. The name white rhinoceros is thought to have come from a misunderstanding, a mistranslation or mishearing of the Afrikaans word white, meaning wide, which describes the white rhino's broad, square lip, a lip shaped for grazing, for sweeping grass close to the ground. The black rhino, by contrast, has a pointed, prehensile lip, hooked, slightly mobile, shaped for browsing trees and shrubs, for plucking individual leaves from thorny branches. Two animals that look almost identical at a distance, but whose mouths are entirely different shapes because they have spent millions of years eating in different ways. The rhinoceros's horn is made of keratin, the same protein that makes up human hair and fingernails. It is not bone. It has no magical medicinal properties. It never did. And yet the belief that it does has driven both African rhino species to the edge of existence. The northern white rhinoceros is now functionally extinct. The last two surviving individuals are both female and cannot reproduce without assistance. There are scientific efforts underway to bring the species back through in vitro fertilization using stored genetic material, an attempt to reverse, through technology, what poaching and habitat loss achieved. Whether it will work remains uncertain. But the fact that we are trying is something. It is not enough, but it is something. The African buffalo is sometimes called the Black Death by hunters, which is dramatic but not entirely inaccurate. It is considered one of the most dangerous animals on the continent, not because it is aggressive by nature, but because it is powerful, intelligent, and does not retreat when threatened. A buffalo that is wounded or cornered will often circle back on its pursuers, a trait that has earned it a complex reputation. In the long history of encounters between buffalo and humans, what is less well known is that buffalo herds make collective decisions, and researchers have observed something that looks remarkably like a democratic vote. When the herd is resting during the midday heat, individual females will sometimes stand, face a particular direction, and then lie back down. After a period of time, the herd tends to move in the direction that was indicated by the majority of those who stood. It is not exactly a town meeting, but it is something, and the fact that we noticed it and that it appears to be real is one of those small details that gently rearranges things inside you. The zebra's stripes have puzzled scientists for a long time. There have been many hypotheses over the years that the stripes help with camouflage, that they help regulate body temperature, that they confuse predators during a chase, that they help zebras recognize each other. The current leading hypothesis, supported by several studies, is that the stripes may have evolved primarily to deter biting flies, particularly horseflies and tsetse flies, which carry disease and cause pain, and which, for reasons still being investigated, appear to land on striped surfaces far less often than on plain ones. It is wonderfully anticlimactic, in the best possible way. One of the most visually arresting patterns in nature. This gorgeous, graphic, impossible-seeming design may exist primarily to stop flies from landing on a horse. No two zebras have the same stripe pattern. Like a human fingerprint, each zebra's markings are unique, and it is thought that foals learn to recognize their mothers, partly through the specific pattern of stripes. There is something tender about that a newly born animal, still uncertain on its legs, has already begun the quiet work of memorizing its mother's particular pattern, of black and white, already learning to find home in a specific arrangement of lines. The wildebeest migration is one of the largest movements of land animals on the surface of the earth, and it has been happening for tens of thousands of years. Every year, somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million wildebeest move in a great circular loop across the Serengeti in Tanzania and the Masai Mara in Kenya, following the rains, following the new grass that springs up in the rain's wake. They are joined by hundreds of thousands of zebras and several 100,000 gazelles, and the column they form stretches at certain points in the migration for 40 or 50 kilometers. The ground shakes. The air is thick with dust and sound. The noise is like a sustained, low thunder that does not end. And then it passes, and the grass slowly returns, and the land is quiet again, waiting for them to come around once more. The river crossings during the wildebeest migration are among the most intense things that happen in the wild world. At certain points, the migrating herds must cross the Mara River, which is fast and deep and full of Nile crocodiles. The wildebeest approach the riverbank in huge numbers and stop, standing at the edge, pressing against each other, not moving, for sometimes hours, or even a day or more. Nothing happens. The herd masses and hesitates, and the tension builds in a way that is almost hard to watch. And then something shifts. Some animal somewhere makes the decision, or perhaps the decision simply accumulates. At the same moment in all of them, and a herd pours into the river. It is chaotic and loud and genuinely dangerous. Many wildebeest do not make it across, and yet the migration continues. It has always continued. The river is crossed because the grass on the other side is worth crossing to. The Nile crocodile is one of Africa's oldest inhabitants. In a deep evolutionary sense, crocodilians as a group have existed on Earth for approximately 240 million years, predating the dinosaurs and outlasting them, with a body plan that has barely changed in that time. The Nile crocodile's basic form, the long jaw, the armored back, the short legs set wide, the flat skull and the large eyes, set close to the waterline, was already present when the first mammals were still very small and very tentative and very frightened. There is something deeply quieting about that, about an animal that has watched 100 million years of other animals try things and succeed and fail, and has simply continued, unchanged, perfect enough, by the dark river's edge. Despite their ancient and armored appearance, Nile crocodiles are attentive parents. The female lays her eggs in a nest she digs in a riverbank and guards them for the entire incubation period, roughly 90 days. When the eggs are about to hatch, the hatchlings call from inside the shells, a soft, high sound, barely more than a peep, and the mother hears them and comes and opens the nest. She will then carry the hatchlings gently in her jaws, the same jaws capable of exerting the strongest bite force ever measured in a living animal, and transport them to the water's edge. The contrast in that image is worth sitting with. The tenderness of the most powerful jaw in the living world, carrying something no bigger than your hand, extremely carefully, to safety. The African rock python is the largest snake on the continent and can grow to lengths of up to 7 meters. It is a constrictor. It kills not with venom, but by wrapping its body around its prey and tightening with each breath the animal takes, until the animal cannot take another. Rock pythons have been recorded eating prey, including adult crocodiles, warthogs, and large antelope. After a large meal, a python may not eat again for several months, simply resting, digesting slowly, lying in the warm grass, with the patience of something that has never been in a hurry. The mamba, particularly the black mamba, carries a fearsome reputation across much of Africa, and the reputation is not entirely unearned. The black mamba is the fastest snake on Earth, capable of moving at up to 20 kilometers per hour in short bursts, and its venom is potently neurotoxic. Without treatment, a bite can be fatal within hours. But the black mamba is also, despite its name, not black. It is grey or olive brown on the outside. The black refers to the inside of its mouth, a dark, slate-black interior, revealed when it opens its jaws in threat display. It is a warning, not a disguise, not a trap, a declaration. Here I am. Please leave. The black mamba is, in fact, a shy animal. It does not hunt humans. It does not pursue confrontation. Given the choice, it will always move away, retreat, disappear, vanish into the undergrowth, with a speed and smoothness that is itself a kind of statement. Most bites occur when the snake is cornered, stepped on, or accidentally disturbed. It asks only to be left alone. And when it is left alone, that is exactly what it does. It is alone, and still, and at peace. The African savanna is not simply a flat plain of grass. It is a complex, layered ecosystem in which trees play a role, just as important as any large animal. The acacia tree, or rather the many species of acacia and acacia-like trees that grow across the continent, is perhaps the most recognizable. With its flat, spreading canopy, and its thorns, and its pale, papery bark, it is the silhouette most people picture when they imagine the African sunset. But what the acacia is doing beneath that beautiful silhouette is extraordinary in a quieter sense. Acacia trees have been observed releasing chemical signals into the air when they are being browsed by giraffes or other herbivores, airborne compounds that are detected by neighboring trees, which then increase the tannin content of their own leaves in response, making those leaves less palatable, less easy to digest. The trees are talking to each other, not in words, not in anything we have yet learned to hear, but they are passing information through the air, chemically, slowly, in a language older than language. The baobab tree is one of Africa's most ancient living things, and standing beneath one is a different kind of experience than standing beneath most trees. Baobabs can live for over 2,000 years, and some individuals are believed to be 3,000 years old or more. Their trunks are enormous, some reaching diameters of 10 or even 11 meters, and they store vast amounts of water in that swollen wood, which is why they persist through the long dry seasons of the African interior. In some traditions, the baobab is called the tree of life. In others, it is said to have been planted upside down, its roots pointing skyward, its canopy underground, which is not a bad description, honestly, of how strange it looks. The branches in winter, bare of leaves, reach upward like roots, like something that has forgotten which way it is supposed to grow. The bee-eater is a small bird found across much of Africa, and it is one of those animals that makes you feel the world spent a little extra care on its design. With feathers in greens, blues, reds, and golds, the bee-eater seems almost implausibly colorful for a world that could easily have made it brown. It catches bees and wasps on the wing, catching them in its bill, then returning to a perch, and systematically beating the bee against the branch to remove the sting and squeeze out the venom before swallowing it whole. It has learned, in other words, to handle something that could hurt it by understanding it thoroughly first, beating away the danger, step by careful step, before proceeding. The secretary bird is another bird with an appearance. that seems almost designed to be noticed. Tall and long-legged, it walks across the open grassland. With an air of enormous self-assurance, its crest of long black feathers spread behind its head like the quill pens that once sat behind the ears of Victorian clerks, which is where, it is believed, the name comes from. The secretary bird hunts by walking, and it specializes in snakes. It stamps on them with a force that has been measured at 5 times its own body weight, a blow delivered with a speed of 15 milliseconds, faster than the snake can react. It is, in its odd, striding, quill-feathered way, perfectly made for the thing it does. The African fish eagle is heard more often than it is seen, and its call, that high, wild, keening cry, is considered by many people to be the sound of Africa itself. It carries across water, which is where the eagle hunts, diving from a perch or from low flight, to snatch fish from just below the surface, with talons that lock around the body of the fish in an instant. If the fish is too heavy to lift clear of the water, the eagle will sometimes use its wings as oars, paddling itself to shore, rather than releasing its catch. It prefers not to let go of something it has worked to find. The flamingo is not naturally pink. Flamingo chicks are born grey-white, and the pink color develops over several years from the carotenoid pigments found in the algae and small crustaceans that form the bulk of their diet. A flamingo that cannot access its food gradually loses its color. It becomes pale and whitened, like something washed out by too much sun. The pink is not decoration. The pink is a record of what the flamingo has eaten, a quiet, visible diary of the nutrition that passed through it and left a trace. There are lakes in the Rift Valley of East Africa, Lake Nakuru, Lake Bogoria, where flamingos gather in numbers so vast that the entire surface of the water appears to become pink, a shifting, breathing, calling carpet of color, stretching to the horizon. Up to 2 million flamingos can gather at a single lake. The sound they make together is a constant, rushing murmur, not quite any one sound, but the combined sound of 2 million small voices existing at the same time. The okapi is an animal that most people outside of Central Africa have never heard of, and it was not known to science until 1901, which is, in the history of zoology, remarkably recent for an animal the size of a horse. The okapi lives in the dense rainforests of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and its closest living relative is the giraffe, a relationship you can see once you know to look in the ossicones on its head and the particular shape of its face. But the okapi is striped on its hindquarters and legs, which gives it an appearance of something that could not quite decide whether to be a giraffe, a zebra, or a small horse, and settled eventually on a combination of all three. The fact that it remained hidden from Western science for so long in a forest it had always lived in says something gentle about how much we do not know and how quietly the forest keeps its secrets. The mountain gorilla lives in the forested highlands of Central Africa, in the Virunga volcanoes that straddle the borders of Rwanda, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, and in the Bwindi impenetrable forest of Uganda. There are approximately 1,070 mountain gorillas left in the world, which makes them one of the rarest great apes on Earth. And yet their population, thanks to decades of conservation work, is slowly growing. Slowly, carefully, against significant odds. Mountain gorillas live in family groups, led by a dominant male, the silverback, named for the saddle of silver-grey hair that develops on his back as he matures. The silverback is not simply a fighter. He mediates disputes within the group. He leads the search for food. He makes decisions about when to move and when to rest. And he protects the young, sometimes when a mother dies, taking over her maternal duties, with a patience and gentleness that researchers have watched and recorded and found difficult to describe in terms that don't sound too much like admiration. Human beings share approximately 98.3% of their DNA with mountain gorillas. The remaining 1.7% contains, among other things, language, cities, surgery, music, poetry. 1.7%. It is worth sitting with what we chose to do with that particular slice of difference, and what we are still in the process of deciding about the 98.3 we share. The bonobo, which is found south of the Congo River, and nowhere else on Earth, is the other great ape that shares approximately 98.7% of its DNA with humans, making bonobos, along with chimpanzees, our closest living relatives. Bonobo society is matriarchal. It is organized around female bonds and led by females. And it is notably peaceful compared to chimpanzee society. Bonobos resolve conflict through social bonding and physical affection, rather than through fighting, and their social lives are characterized by a kind of fluid tolerance and sustained connection that observers have found striking. They have been observed sharing food with strangers, even with individuals from outside their own group, which is extremely rare among non-human primates. Something in them, it appears, inclines toward generosity, toward openness, toward giving rather than withholding. The African wild ass is the ancestor of the domestic donkey, and this small, hardy, desert-adapted equid is now one of the most endangered mammals in the world. There are thought to be fewer than 500 individuals remaining in the wild, surviving in the arid scrublands of Eritrea, Ethiopia, and parts of Somalia. Their domestic descendants, meanwhile, number in the hundreds of millions worldwide, carrying loads and pulling carts, and working quietly in fields on every inhabited continent. The ancestor of all those patient, working donkeys stands now at the edge of disappearance, in a desert that grows a little hotter and a little drier each year. There is something in that inversion that is worth pausing on, the wild source vanishing, while the domesticated expression multiplies across the world. The spotted hyena is one of the most misunderstood animals in Africa. It has a reputation for cowardice and scavenging, in part because of the way it was depicted in old wildlife films and older stories. But that reputation is, to a significant degree, wrong. Spotted hyenas are highly efficient predators and catch the majority of their own food. Their jaws are among the strongest of any land mammal, capable of crushing bone that other predators leave untouched. And this ability to process bone completely makes them important recyclers in the ecosystem, returning minerals to the soil that would otherwise stay locked inside the dead. Spotted hyena society is also matriarchal, and hyenas have complex social lives, with sophisticated communication, recognizable individual relationships, and the ability to solve problems that require social cooperation. The laugh, that famous, eerie, whooping giggle, is not actually laughter. It is a complex vocalization used to communicate status, location, and social information. It is a language, and like most languages, it sounds strange at first, until you begin to listen. The aardvark is one of those animals that seems almost like a gentle joke. A pig-snouted, rabbit-eared, kangaroo-tailed creature that shuffles through the African night with a kind of earnest peculiarity that is hard to categorize. It is the only living species in its order, meaning it has no close living relatives. It is, in the taxonomic sense, entirely alone in its category. It eats almost exclusively ants and termites, using its powerful, stubby claws to tear open termite mounds, and its long, sticky tongue, up to 30 centimeters in length, to harvest the insects inside. An aardvark can eat 50,000 ants and termites in a single night. 50,000. It does this in the dark, without rushing, moving from one mound to the next, with unhurried efficiency, entirely unique, entirely itself. The pangolin, sometimes called the scaly anteater, is found in parts of sub-Saharan Africa and is the world's most trafficked mammal. It is covered in overlapping scales, made of keratin, the same substance as human fingernails and rhino horn. And when threatened, it curls into a tight ball, its scales forming a nearly impenetrable shell. This defense works well against most natural predators. It does not work against humans. The curled ball, in fact, makes the pangolin easy to pick up. And this, combined with the mistaken belief that its scales have medicinal properties, has placed all 8 pangolin species in varying degrees of danger. The pangolin has survived for approximately 66 million years. It watched the end of the dinosaurs. From whatever quiet corner of the world it inhabited then, it is one of the oldest mammals on Earth, and it may not survive the current century. The dung beetle has the distinction of being the only known non-human animal that navigates using the Milky Way. Dung beetles roll their balls of dung in perfectly straight lines, even on the darkest nights. Even when landmarks on the horizon are invisible, they maintain a straight course. Scientists discovered, by fitting tiny cardboard caps over the beetles' eyes to block their view of the sky, which must have been a strange afternoon, in the laboratory, that the beetles became disoriented when they could not see the stars. Specifically, it appeared that they were using the diffuse band of the Milky Way as a compass. An insect that fits in the palm of your hand navigates by the light of 100 billion suns. It does this at night, alone, rolling its small sphere of dung across the vast, dark ground, guided by starlight. It has never been taught to read, but has always known how to use. The termite builds structures that, relative to the size of the builders, dwarf the tallest human skyscraper. African termite mounds can reach heights of 9 or 10 meters and have been in continuous construction and habitation for centuries. Some mounds are believed to be over 2,000 years old. Their internal architecture, maintained by generations of insects, following the same patterns, rebuilding the same passages, maintaining the same ventilation systems that keep the interior at a nearly constant temperature, year-round. The termite colony functions as a kind of superorganism. No individual termite understands the structure it is helping to build. Each insect responds only to local signals, the presence of a certain chemical, the shape of the material around it. And yet, the whole, somehow, is greater than the sum of its utterly clueless parts. The monarch of African skies in terms of size is the marabou stork, and it is, I think it's fair to say, not a conventionally beautiful bird. It is bald-headed, hunched, with a pendulous air sac hanging from its neck, and a generally funereal bearing that earned it, in some places, the nickname the Undertaker bird. It is a scavenger, following large predators for the remains of kills, and its wingspan can reach up to 3.7 meters, among the largest of any living bird. But the marabou is deeply useful. It processes waste, cleans carcasses, reduces the spread of disease. In its own ungainly, slightly grim, deeply uncelebrated way, it keeps things functioning. Not everything that is beautiful is useful. Not everything that is useful is beautiful. The meerkat is a small mongoose relative that lives in the Kalahari and surrounding desert regions, and its social life is one of the more remarkable things. In the animal world, meerkats live in cooperative groups called mobs or gangs, typically of around 20 to 30 individuals, and within these groups, almost everything is shared. Different individuals take turns as sentinels, standing upright on their hind legs at an elevated point, scanning the sky and surrounding ground for predators, while the rest of the group forages. The sentinel's alarm calls are specific, different calls for aerial predators than for ground predators, and different levels of urgency, depending on how close the threat is. The group responds accordingly, diving for cover at the aerial alarm standing alert at the low-urgency terrestrial call. This is not instinct alone. It has to be learned. Young meerkats practice their alarm calls, and older meerkats teach them to refine the calls over time. Meerkats are immune to certain venoms that would kill many other similarly sized animals. They eat scorpions, removing the stinger first, then eating the rest. And they eat venomous snakes and other toxic prey with no apparent ill effect. They teach their young to handle prey, gradually, at first bringing dead scorpions to the pups, then stunned ones, then live ones. As the young meerkat grows, more capable of dealing with the challenge. It is, in a very real sense, education. Progressive, scaffolded, patient education, passed from one generation to the next. The African continent contains within it several distinct major biomes, and the Congo Basin rainforest is among the most important on Earth. The second largest tropical rainforest in the world, covering roughly 3 million square kilometers, and home to an estimated 10,000 species of plant, and over 600 species of bird. The forest is so dense and so vast that its interior was, for most of human history, almost entirely unknown to the outside world. Even today, large portions of it remain poorly surveyed. New species are still being found there, quietly, tucked into the green, waiting for someone to look carefully enough. The forest holds an amount of carbon that its defenders have described as one of the largest stores of organic carbon in the world, a fact that makes the fate of the Congo Basin inseparable from the fate of the global climate system. Within the Congo Basin lives the forest elephant, a separate species from the savanna elephant, smaller and more oval-eared, and with straighter, downward-pointing tusks, adapted for moving through dense vegetation. Forest elephants are ecosystem engineers. They create clearings in the forest, open paths, knock down trees, and disperse seeds across huge distances in their dung. The forests they inhabit are, in a measurable and documented sense, shaped by them. Without the forest elephant, the character of the Congo Basin would change. The composition of the trees, the structure of the undergrowth, the availability of light on the forest floor. The elephant is not simply an animal that lives in the forest. The elephant is part of what makes the forest what it is. The giant eland is the world's largest antelope, standing up to 1.8 meters at the shoulder and weighing up to 1,000 kilograms. It is a gentle, cautious animal with long, spiraled horns and a distinctive fold of skin, a dewlap, hanging from its throat, which swings as it walks, with a slow, rocking rhythm. Despite its size, the giant eland can jump fences, up to 1.5 meters high, from a standstill, a fact that surprises almost everyone who learns it, because there is something about the weight and the gravitas of the animal that makes the idea of it jumping seem almost comedic. But it does. It lifts its enormous body cleanly off the ground and over the obstacle almost effortlessly, and then resumes its slow, careful walk, as though nothing unusual has occurred. The springbok, the national animal of South Africa, is known for a behavior called pronking or stotting, leaping straight up into the air, with all four legs stiff and the back arched, sometimes to heights of 2 meters or more, and then landing and immediately doing it again. The purpose of this behavior has been debated, and there are several plausible explanations. It may signal fitness to predators. I am healthy and strong. You will not catch me. It may startle or confuse a pursuing predator. It may communicate alarm to other springbok. But whatever its function, what it looks like is joy. What it looks like from the outside is a small, tawny animal, deciding for a moment that the ground is not enough and that the air is worth trying. The Kalahari Desert, which is not a true desert in the technical sense, since it receives more rainfall than the Sahara and supports a surprising variety of life, covers parts of Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa, and it holds within it one of the great silences of the world. There are places in the Kalahari where you can stand and hear nothing. Not the absence of sound exactly, but a silence that has texture, that is filled with heat and distance, and the very faint movement of dry grass. The San people, the Bushmen, the Khoisan, have lived in and around the Kalahari for perhaps the longest continuous stretch of any human population in the world. Their genetic lineage is considered one of the oldest on Earth, branching from the common ancestor of all modern humans, earlier than any other surviving population. They are not ancient people frozen in time. They are contemporary people with a very long memory. The Sahara Desert, which covers approximately 9 million square kilometers of northern Africa, is the world's largest hot desert. But the Sahara has not always been a desert. Between roughly 11,000 and 5,000 years ago, during a period known as the African Humid Period, or the Green Sahara, the region received dramatically more rainfall and supported a vastly different landscape. Lakes, rivers, grasslands, forests, and the animals that went with them. Crocodiles, hippos, elephants, fish. Rock art in the Central Sahara, in the Tassili Niger Plateau in Algeria, and other remote sites, depicts animals that have not lived in the region for thousands of years. Swimming figures, cattle herds, giraffes. The Sahara remembers, in its stone, a world that is otherwise gone. Beneath the Sahara, there is water, an enormous ancient aquifer system. The Nubian sandstone aquifer system holds water that fell as rain during that wetter period thousands of years ago, and has sat there since, vast and still and dark, compressed beneath the sand, in quantities almost too large to imagine. This fossil water, as it is called, is one of the largest freshwater reservoirs on Earth, and it is not being replenished. The rain that filled it stopped falling long before human civilization began. What remains there is a finite gift, stored against a future need, by weather patterns that no longer exist. The Ethiopian wolf is the rarest canid in the world, and exists only in the highlands of Ethiopia, living at elevations above 3,000 meters, in a specialized alpine grassland that is itself under pressure from agricultural expansion. There are fewer than 500 Ethiopian wolves remaining, making them rarer than the mountain gorilla, and among the most endangered carnivores on Earth. They are striking animals, russet red and white, long-legged and elegant, and they feed almost exclusively on the giant mole rats that burrow beneath the Afro-alpine meadows. The relationship between the wolf and its specialized habitat is so tight, so particular, so finely calibrated, that the survival of the species depends entirely on the survival of one specific type of landscape, in one specific country, in one specific mountain range. The wolf is held in place by the very specificity of what it needs. The African wild cat is the ancestor of the domestic cat, the small, tabby-patterned, slightly more long-legged wild relative of the cat sitting in your home. If a cat sits in your home, the domestication of the cat began approximately 10,000 years ago, most likely in the Fertile Crescent, as humans began to settle in agricultural communities and store grain, and the grain attracted mice, and the mice attracted wild cats, and the wild cats were tolerated, then welcomed, then fed, then named. It is one of the stranger self-domestications in natural history. An animal that did not quite tame itself, and was not quite tamed by humans, but wandered, over centuries, into an arrangement that suited both parties. Arguably, on most days, the African continent is crossed by some of the world's great rivers: the Nile, the Congo, the Niger, the Zambezi. And these rivers carry with them whole ecosystems of freshwater fish, invertebrates, birds, and mammals that depend on the flow of water, the way a body depends on the flow of blood. The Zambezi, which flows for 2,500 kilometers before meeting the Indian Ocean, is the home of Victoria Falls, Mosi Oatunya in the Lozi language, meaning the smoke that thunders. The spray from Victoria Falls rises high enough to be seen from 50 kilometers away. The sound at the edge of the falls is the loudest natural sound in southern Africa, and in the permanent mist that the falls generate, a strip of rainforest has grown, green and dense and incongruous, at the edge of drier woodland, kept alive entirely by the smoke that thunders. The shoebill is a bird that looks as though it was designed by someone working slightly outside the normal constraints of bird design. It stands over 1 meter tall, grey and solemn, and its beak, the feature for which it is named, is enormous, shaped like a clog or a Dutch shoe or something you might find in a shop that only a very specific customer could need. The shoebill hunts in swamps and marshes, standing completely motionless, for sometimes hours at a time, waiting for a lungfish or a young crocodile to come within range. When it strikes, it does so with a sudden lunge and a snap of that enormous beak that has been clocked at remarkable speed. For a bird its size, its patience, by any standard, is formidable. It simply stands and waits, and the world, eventually, comes to it. The ostrich is the world's largest living bird and the world's fastest running bird, capable of sustaining speeds of around 50 kilometers per hour over long distances and reaching 70 kilometers per hour in short bursts. It cannot fly. Its wings are vestigial in terms of flight, though they are used for balance and for temperature regulation and for courtship displays. The ostrich's eye is roughly 5 centimeters in diameter, the largest eye of any land animal on Earth, and larger than the ostrich's own brain. That last detail is usually mentioned with a certain quiet amusement, and it is worth a moment. But it would be unfair to suggest that the ostrich is not intelligent. It is highly effective. It has survived for millions of years in some of the harshest environments on the continent. The relationship between brain size and intelligence or effectiveness is more complicated than it first appears, as, perhaps, is the relationship between seeing and understanding. The warthog is an animal that seems to have decided early on that elegance was not its department, and has leaned into that decision fully. With its large, warty face, its upward curved tusks, and its habit of running with its tail held straight up, like a small, hairy antenna, the warthog is one of those animals that is easy to like, for reasons that are harder to articulate than they ought to be. Warthogs are tough, resourceful, and surprisingly fast, capable of running at up to 50 kilometers per hour when necessary. They kneel on their padded wrists to graze, pushing their flat faces close to the ground, and they use abandoned aardvark burrows as dens, reversing into them tail first, so their tusks face the entrance, and would greet any approaching predator in the most direct way possible. Even in their sleeping arrangements, they are admirably practical. The honey badger has a reputation for being perhaps the most aggressively undaunted animal on the continent, and that reputation is not undeserved. Honey badgers have been observed taking on lions, buffaloes, and cobras, not because they are large enough to win, but because they appear, at least behaviorally, to lack the capacity for normal threat assessment. Or perhaps they have simply calculated that retreat is never the preferred option. The honey badger has extremely thick skin that is loose enough on its body that it can turn around inside it, allowing it to turn and bite, even when held firmly. It is also resistant to many venoms, including cobra venom. It may be bitten, and it may collapse briefly, but it will recover, and when it does, it will resume whatever it was doing before it was interrupted. There is something in the honey badger that is almost philosophically admirable, not as a model for human behavior, necessarily, but as a reminder that tenacity, in certain animals, is not a quality they chose. It is simply who they are. The oxpecker is a small bird that spends its life on the backs, necks, and faces of large African mammals: buffalo, rhinoceros, giraffe, elephant, zebra. It feeds on ticks and parasites that it finds in the skin and fur of its hosts, and the relationship was long considered. A classic example of mutualism. The bird gets food, the mammal gets cleaned. But the relationship, on closer examination, is a little more complicated. Oxpeckers also feed on the blood of open wounds, picking at healing sores, keeping them open longer than they might otherwise stay, drinking the blood that seeps out. Whether this makes the oxpecker a parasite, a mutualist, or something in between, is still debated. It is perhaps a reminder that in nature, relationships are rarely simply one thing or another, that the line between beneficial and exploitative is often faint and a little blurry. The African continent is home to roughly 2,000 known species of bird, which is more than any other continent on Earth. Birds find Africa, in a sense, irresistible, and they are right to. The range of habitats, the abundance of insects, the variety of water sources, the warmth, these things make Africa a place that birds have been navigating toward for millions of years. Many of the birds that summer in Europe, the swallow, the swift, the nightjar, the cuckoo, spend their winters in Africa, crossing the Sahara twice a year, in journeys of extraordinary length, navigating by stars, by magnetic fields, by landmarks, by the angle of the sun. A barn swallow, born in a barn in northern Europe, will fly to southern Africa before its first winter, and then return, and then leave again, and then return. It will do this for its whole life, crossing the earth twice annually, alone, at night, by memory and light. The great grey mongoose lives in pairs that maintain their bond through close contact and mutual grooming, and there is something gently lovely about watching them move together, always near each other, always checking where the other is, in the easy, unstressed way of two individuals who have become accustomed to each other's presence and find it a kind of comfort. Not every animal worth noticing is notable for its size or its speed or its danger. Some are notable simply for the quality of their company. The African wildcat, the ancestor I mentioned earlier, hybridizes readily with domestic cats wherever their ranges overlap, and this hybridization is now considered one of the primary threats to the wildcat's genetic integrity. The irony is thick. The domestic cat, descended from the wild cat, is now slowly absorbing the wild cat back into itself. The domesticated child, returning to the wild parent, and gradually, over generations, changing it. Nature, as a rule, does not hold still. It never has. It moves the way water moves, through the paths available to it, without nostalgia, without plan. The African lungfish is one of the oldest types of fish on Earth, and it can survive conditions that would kill almost any other aquatic animal. When its freshwater habitat dries up in the dry season, the lungfish burrows into the mud, secretes a mucus cocoon around itself, and enters a state of dormancy called estivation, which can last for months, or in extreme cases, years. During this time, its metabolism slows to almost nothing, its body consuming itself gradually, very slowly, until the rains return. Lungfish have been found alive after being encased in dry mud for over 3 years. They breathe air as well as water, using a primitive lung that is thought to resemble the ancestral organ, from which all tetrapod lungs, including the lungs you are using right now, breathing slowly in the dark, ultimately evolved. You are breathing in a deep and roundabout way with something that began in a fish buried in African mud, waiting for rain. The great white pelican gathers in breeding colonies that can number in the thousands, and it hunts cooperatively. A group of pelicans will form a line or a horseshoe at the water's surface and drive fish toward the shallows together, synchronized, dipping their enormous bills in unison. Each pelican bill can hold up to 13 liters of water, roughly 3 times the capacity of its stomach. The pouch acts as a net, straining water through the edges while retaining the fish. A pelican on the water, wings folded, drifting slowly, white against the blue, seems almost impossible to hurry. It has a quality of patience that seems built into the architecture of it, into the slow angle of the neck, the unhurried float, as though it has decided, somewhere in its long ancestry, that the water is enough, and the day is long, and there is no need to be in a hurry about any of it. The topi antelope has a peculiar habit that was noticed only relatively recently by researchers. Male topis have been observed faking alarm signals, making the same sounds and postures they would make if a predator were present, in order to prevent females from wandering away from their territory. They create a threat that does not exist to hold the attention of females who might otherwise leave. It is, I'm not entirely sure how else to say this, a form of deception. Small scale, ungulate deception, but deception nonetheless. The natural world, it turns out, did not wait for language to invent the misdirection. The African wild dog pup learns to recognize its packmates, partly through their unique coat patterns. Each dog is distinctively patterned in black, white, and tan, like a hand-painted tile, like something that was made specifically to be itself and nothing else. No 2 wild dogs are identically marked, and researchers use these patterns to track and identify individuals over the years. In long-term studies, scientists have followed the same dogs through many seasons, watched them grow from pups to hunters from hunters to parents, through sickness and recovery, through loss. There is a kind of intimacy in that extended knowledge of another creature, in knowing an individual animal, across years, in watching it change, in caring, quietly, what happens to it. The weaver bird, of which there are dozens of species across Africa, is one of the most architecturally accomplished creatures on the continent. The male weaver builds intricate nests by weaving strips of grass, leaves, and other plant material into a tightly constructed, enclosed ball that hangs from a branch over water. He builds this nest to attract a female who inspects it carefully, tugging at the entrance, testing the structural integrity, examining the weave. If she is not satisfied, she leaves, and the male dismantles the nest and starts again. He may build and dismantle several nests in a single season before one is deemed acceptable. It is one of those animal behaviors that somehow manages to feel both deeply alien and completely recognizable at the same time. The sociable weaver of southern Africa takes collective architecture to a different scale entirely. Colonies of sociable weavers build enormous communal nests, the largest nests built by any bird, that can contain up to several hundred chambers and host over 500 birds at once. These nests are built on the branches of large trees or on utility poles in agricultural areas, and they can weigh over a ton, sometimes enough to break the tree that holds them. Inside the nest, the chambers maintain a relatively stable temperature, year-round, warm at night, cooler in the heat of the day. The nest is also used by other species. Pygmy falcons live in the outer chambers, and various other birds and small mammals make use of its warmth and shelter. The sociable weaver builds a home that becomes a neighborhood. The Cape fur seal breeds in massive colonies on the rocky shores of southern Africa, particularly along the Namibian coast, and at the height of the breeding season, the colonies can hold hundreds of thousands of individuals. The noise is overwhelming, a continuous, layered roar of barking and calling that rises and falls like something breathing, and the smell is correspondingly powerful. But within this chaos, mothers and pups recognize each other by voice and smell alone, even in a colony of 200,000, even after the mother has been away at sea for several days. The pup calls. The mother calls back. They find each other in the roar. Great white sharks patrol the cold waters off the Cape Peninsula in South Africa, particularly around Seal Island near Gansby, where the Cape fur seals breed. The sharks hunt the seals with a strategy that involves approaching fast from below, using the dark depth of the water as cover, and striking at such speed that they sometimes breach the surface entirely, launching themselves clear of the water in a moment of sudden, shocking air, before falling back. Great white sharks in these waters have been studied extensively, and individual sharks are recognizable by their markings. Some of them have been observed, year after year, returning to the same waters, hunting in the same seasons. They are, in their way, residents, old ones, known ones, part of the place. The Okavango Delta in Botswana is one of the world's great inland deltas, a river system that flows not into the sea, but into the Kalahari Desert, where it fans out over an enormous area of shallow channels and lagoons and islands, and creates, in the middle of one of the driest regions on Earth, a vast, green, water-rich wilderness. The Okavango is a place of extraordinary abundance. In a landscape that is otherwise dry and hard, the delta's waters draw elephants, lions, leopards, hippos, wild dogs, and hundreds of species of bird into a concentrated, layered, quietly miraculous ecosystem. The delta itself moves. The channels shift over years, rerouting the water across different parts of the basin, so that places that were dry become wet, and places that were wet become dry, and the life of the delta adjusts slowly to the shifting of the water. The sitatunga is an antelope, adapted to live in swamps and marshes. Its hooves are splayed to help it walk on soft ground. Its coat is oily and water-resistant, and it moves through flooded vegetation with a quiet, practiced ease, sinking its legs deep into the water, chest deep sometimes, moving between reed beds, with a grace that seems unexpected in an animal of its size. When threatened, the sitatunga will sometimes fully submerge itself in water, hiding with only its nostrils above the surface. Still, watching, it has learned to become, when necessary, almost invisible. The tsetse fly is a tiny insect that has, for centuries, shaped the human geography of Africa more profoundly than any war or drought. The tsetse carries African sleeping sickness, or African trypanosomiasis, a parasitic disease fatal to humans and livestock, if untreated, and its presence across vast areas of sub-Saharan Africa historically prevented the expansion of cattle herding and made certain regions inaccessible to settled agriculture. In one of the most quietly counterintuitive ironies in conservation history, the presence of the tsetse fly has sometimes protected wildlife, because areas where the fly is prevalent could not be converted to farmland. They remained as wilderness, undisturbed, preserving the animals and habitats that would otherwise have been cleared. A disease-carrying insect, without knowing it, helped protect some of Africa's most important ecosystems. The world is rarely simple. The Nile monitor lizard is one of the largest lizards in Africa, reaching lengths of up to 2 meters, and it is a skilled, patient, highly intelligent reptile. Monitor lizards are among the most cognitively capable of all reptiles, capable of learning to count, of remembering specific individuals, and of solving simple problems. The Nile monitor eats almost anything it can overpower: fish, birds, eggs, small mammals, carrion, and it is an adept swimmer. spending much of its life near rivers and lakes. It moves with a swagger that seems almost deliberate, its long tongue flickering the air, constantly tasting the world as it goes. The chameleon, of which Africa has more species than anywhere else on Earth, changes color not primarily for camouflage, as is commonly believed, but mostly for communication. The color shifts reflect the chameleon's mood, its temperature, its social status, and its intent. A bright and flickering language, written in light on skin. Male chameleons in territorial disputes cycle through a rapid sequence of colors, their bodies flashing and shifting. In a conversation we are only beginning to understand the grammar of. The chameleon's eyes move independently of each other. One can look forward while the other looks backward, giving it a near 360-degree field of vision. It sees the world, in a sense, from all directions, at once. I'm not sure if that would feel generous or overwhelming, perhaps both. The African continent is the birthplace of our species. The earliest evidence of Homo sapiens, our species, modern humans, comes from Africa, specifically from sites in Morocco and Ethiopia, dating to approximately 300,000 years ago. But the story goes back much further than that. The lineage that would eventually produce us had been in Africa for millions of years. The genus Homo, in its various early forms, walking upright across the same landscapes, where wildebeest and elephants and lions still live today. There is something deeply moving about that continuity, that the places where you now find great herds and ancient trees and morning light on open grass are also the places where something that would eventually become you first learned to stand upright and looked out over the plain and began. The savanna itself, that particular landscape of open grass and scattered trees and long horizons, may have shaped the human eye. Some researchers in evolutionary psychology have suggested that human aesthetic preferences for certain landscapes, for particular combinations of openness and shelter, for views across water to a horizon, may reflect the landscape in which our ancestors evolved. That the savanna may have trained the human sense of beauty over millions of years, so that something in us still responds to the sight of open ground and shade and water in the distance, with a feeling of recognition, of ease, of home. That the feeling you might have watching a sunset over a wide, flat plain is not just admiration, it is something older than admiration, something closer to memory. The vulture is Africa's great recycler of the dead, and it serves a function in the ecosystem that is as important as any predator. Without vultures, carcasses would remain on the landscape far longer, creating conditions that allow the spread of disease, including anthrax and rabies, and depriving the soil of the minerals. The decomposing bodies return to it. African vultures can locate a carcass from great distances, using their extraordinary eyesight, which is among the sharpest of any bird, capable of detecting a dead animal from altitude. They also watch each other, When one vulture begins to descend, others in the area notice and follow. And within minutes of a large animal dying, a sky that seemed empty will fill with descending shapes, circling lower. Many of Africa's vulture species are in severe decline, primarily from poisoning, both accidental and deliberate. Their loss would change the African landscape in ways both biological and atmospheric. That particular quality of sky, the wheel of dark shapes overhead, would be gone. The acacia, or more precisely, the Vachelia and Senegalia species, that replaced the original Acacia genus, in African scientific nomenclature, hosts within its branches a remarkable relationship with ants. Certain acacias in East Africa, the whistling thorn, for example, have evolved swollen, hollow thorns at the base of their true thorns that serve as nesting chambers for aggressive ant colonies. The tree provides the ants with shelter and nectar, and the ants, in return, aggressively defend the tree against any animal that attempts to browse it, even large ones like elephants. They swarm the animal's face and trunk, biting persistently, and while an individual ant is trivially small, a cloud of them is apparently enough to deter even an elephant from continuing to eat. The tree has hired security. The security gets room and board. Everyone, in this particular arrangement, is satisfied. The Cape Floral region of South Africa, a relatively small area at the southwestern tip of the continent, is one of the world's 6 floral kingdoms and is considered one of the most biodiverse plant regions on Earth. It contains roughly 9,000 species of plant, of which about 70% are found nowhere else on the planet. 9,000 species in an area smaller than Portugal. The fynbos, the Afrikaans word, means fine bush that covers much of this region, is a low, dense, fire-adapted shrubland that is almost impossible to convey in words, because so much of what makes it extraordinary is the sheer improbability of the density of different species, growing in such close proximity, each one adapted to the thin, acidic, nutrient-poor soils that most plants cannot survive in. Fire is essential to the fynbos. Many species germinate only after fire, their seeds requiring the heat and smoke and chemicals of burning before they will break open. The landscape needs to burn in order to keep being itself, and it does, with regular, ancient, necessary fire. The African elephant uses infrasound, sounds below the range of human hearing, to communicate across distances of several kilometers. These rumbles travel through both the air and the ground, and elephants can detect them not just with their ears, but through their feet, which are sensitive to seismic vibrations. When a distant elephant calls, the entire herd may freeze, standing still, feet slightly spread, weight forward, listening through the earth. There is something in that image that I want to hold for a moment. The idea of a creature so attuned to the ground beneath it that it listens not just with its ears, but with its whole body, the whole vast weight of itself, pressed toward the voice, moving through the rock and soil below. Africa's Great Rift Valley stretches approximately 6,000 kilometers from the Afar Triangle in Ethiopia to Mozambique in the south, and it is one of the geological wonders of the planet, a place where the African tectonic plate is slowly tearing itself apart. The valley is widening at a rate of about 6 to 7 millimeters per year. Barely noticeable in a human lifetime, but geologically speaking, rapid. In tens of millions of years, the eastern portion of Africa will break away entirely, forming a new landmass. The sea will fill the gap. The continent that birthed us is in the slow process of becoming two. It is a change so gradual that no individual of any species alive today will live to see it begin to look like anything. And yet it is happening right now, beneath the feet of every creature that walks across that ancient ground. The flamingo, which we met earlier standing in vast pink multitudes at the edge of alkaline lakes, feeds by holding its head upside down in the water, its bill inverted, its specialized tongue pumping water through plates that filter out algae and small organisms. The flamingo's bill is essentially a sophisticated sieve, and it works only when held in that specific inverted position. The flamingo is, in terms of feeding, permanently and deliberately upside down. It has evolved an entire physiology around a problem it solved by simply turning its face toward the water and staying there. That, too, seems worth a moment's quiet respect. The African wild dog's Latin name is Lycaon pictus, painted wolf, and it is a name that suits them. Their coats are individual, multicolored, unrepeatable, and within a pack, these individual patterns make each dog known to every other. In a species where the survival of any individual depends on the cohesion of the pack, recognizability, the ability to be known, specifically as yourself, is not vanity. It is survival. To be seen clearly by those who depend on you is one of the more important things any social creature can be. The African continent holds within it the full sweep of evolutionary time in a way no other continent quite does. Ancient creatures share the landscape with recently evolved ones. The coelacanth, a fish thought to have been extinct for 65 million years, until one was caught off the coast of South Africa in 1938. Still swims in the cold, deep waters off the East African coast. It is a fish with leg-like fins, believed to be related to the ancestors of all land vertebrates. The fish from which legs came, still here, still swimming in the dark and cold, as it has been swimming for 400 million years. The world does not always let things go as quickly as we imagine. Bioluminescence exists in the waters around Africa, in the plankton, and the jellyfish, and the dinoflagellates that make the waves glow blue on warm nights. Standing at the edge of the Indian Ocean on a dark night and watching the breaking waves light up as they fall, each wave releasing a pulse of cold blue light that flares and fades. As the water crashes and recedes, is the kind of experience that the word beautiful handles poorly. The light is produced by organisms, defending themselves from disturbance, or communicating in the dark, or attracting prey. It has a function. It is not made for us, and yet it reaches us and changes something in the quality of the darkness, the way a sound can change the feeling of a room without changing the room itself. The elephant shrew, despite its name, not closely related to shrews at all, is a small, quick, long-snouted insectivore found across sub-Saharan Africa. Its closest relatives, genetically speaking, are elephants, manatees, aardvarks, an unlikely family reunion gathered by the deep logic of shared ancestry across hundreds of millions of years. The elephant shrew maintains a network of cleared paths in its territory, tiny corridors through the undergrowth that it patrols and maintains regularly, clearing away leaf litter and debris, so that when it needs to flee a predator, it can do so at full speed, without obstacle. It cleans its roads, the way a careful person cleans their house, not frantically, but with routine, with daily, quiet attention to the small infrastructures of survival. The greater kudu is one of Africa's most strikingly beautiful antelopes, large and spiral-horned, with pale vertical stripes on its sides, and a dignity of bearing that makes it seem, in photographs, almost heraldic. The kudu's horns, found only on males, can grow to nearly 1.5 meters in length and make 2.5 to 3 full spirals. They take 4 to 5 years to develop fully, growing slowly in a long, patient spiral over years. Kudu are exceptionally good at being invisible in dense bush. Their striped coats break up their outline, and they freeze when alarmed, standing motionless in a way that makes them, despite their size, genuinely difficult to see, even at close range. The kudu keeps itself by becoming very still. There are places in Africa so remote that they have rarely been visited by humans. Places in the interior of the Congo basin, in the heart of the Namib Desert, in the depths of certain Rift Valley lakes, where the research has barely begun, where the species lists are incomplete, where new things are found every time someone looks carefully. This is not, in the year that this is written, what people expect to hear about the world, that there are still places genuinely unknown, still portions of the map, where reality exceeds our current understanding of it. And yet, it is true. The world is larger than our maps of it. It always has been. It probably always will be. The Namib Desert is believed to be the oldest desert on Earth, having been arid for somewhere between 55 and 80 million years. It stretches along the western coast of southern Africa, and where the cold Benguela current meets the hot desert air, a thick coastal fog rolls in from the sea, on most mornings. A grey, soft veil of moisture that covers the dunes and the gravel plains in the early hours before burning off in the growing heat. For the animals of the Namib, this fog is survival. The fog-basking beetle, a small, dark-bodied beetle found nowhere else on Earth, has evolved a specialized technique for harvesting water from fog. It climbs to the crest of a dune in the early morning and angles its body into the wind, its hydrophilic back surface collecting tiny droplets of fog moisture that coalesce and run down channels toward its mouth. It drinks the fog. It has evolved, in a desert with almost no rain, to drink the sky. The welwitschia plant grows in the Namib and nowhere else on Earth. It has only 2 leaves, 2 primary leaves that grow continuously from the base, splitting and shredding over time into ribbons that lie flat against the ground. Individual welwitschia plants can live for over 1,000 years. Some individuals are estimated to be between 1,500 and 2,000 years old, making them among the oldest living plants on Earth. They were alive during the Roman Empire. They were alive before the Crusades. They have been lying there, slowly, in the desert, growing their 2 leaves outward, drinking the fog, while the full span of recorded human history happened somewhere else. They look, frankly, like nothing so much as a large, struggling octopus that has given up trying to walk and decided instead to simply grow roots and wait out the next 2,000 years. But they are alive, deeply, quietly, persistently alive. The African continent, in all its vastness, loses species every year. The rate of loss is not something that can be stated calmly, without it registering as a kind of grief, because what is being lost is not simply a collection of organisms, but an accumulation of solutions. Millions of years of evolutionary answers to questions posed by landscape and climate and time. Each species that disappears takes with it something irreplaceable, not just in the ecological sense, though that is true, but in the sense that a disappearing species takes with it a way of being alive that existed nowhere else and will exist nowhere else again. There is a particular sadness in extinction that is unlike other kinds of sadness, because it is permanent in a way that most losses are not. Other losses can be mourned and then become bearable. Extinction does not become bearable. It becomes simply the past. And yet, Africa's wildlife is also, in places, recovering. The southern white rhinoceros was once reduced to fewer than 50 individuals in a single game reserve in South Africa, Khulului Mfolozi Park. At the end of the 19th century, through decades of protection and managed breeding, its population grew to over 20,000, the largest population of any rhinoceros species on Earth. The mountain gorilla, as I mentioned, is slowly increasing in number. Wild dog populations in certain regions are stabilizing, Elephant populations in southern Africa's best protected areas are robust enough to have created a different kind of problem: too many elephants for the available habitat. The story of African wildlife is not only a story of loss, it is also, in some places and for some species, a story of return. Careful, slow, hard-won return. The night in Africa, in the places where the natural world is still largely intact, is a different kind of night. The sounds are different. The quality of darkness is different. You hear things that you cannot see, and the not seeing becomes its own kind of presence. A density in the dark that is made of sound and breath and the faint smell of dry grass and something else, something harder to name. The hyena calls from somewhere to the south. The nightjar clicks in the thorn bushes. Something moves through the grass nearby, slowly, and stops. The stars, where there is no light pollution to wash them out, are extraordinary. Not the dozen or so stars visible from a city, but the full, overwhelming, humbling display of a sky that has not been dimmed. The Milky Way shows as a visible band, a river of soft light that the dung beetle navigates by, and that human beings looked up at. For most of our history, before we began building cities bright enough to hide it. The lion in the night. The elephant moving through the acacia forest. On feet so large and soft, they make almost no sound. The leopard resting in a tree above the riverbank, one leg hanging loose, eyes half closed, tail swinging slow. The hippo somewhere in the dark water, breathing. The nightjar, the hyena, the cooling air, the stars. There is something the African continent holds, even from this distance, even through a screen or a page or a quiet voice in the dark. Something that arrives not as information, but as feeling, as the faint, specific sensation of a vast and living world, carrying on, as it has always carried on, in the warm dark, on the old ground, under the very old stars. Africa's wildlife does not belong to us. It did not wait for us to discover it. It was not made for us to look at. It simply is, has been, will be, in whatever form the future allows it, going about the enormous and ordinary business of being alive. Eating, drinking, sleeping, moving, calling across distances too great to cross, teaching, building, grieving, finding each other, losing each other, carrying on. The wildebeest will cross the river again this year. The baobab will stand for another 1,000 years, if we leave it be. The wild dog pups will learn to hunt, guided by the whole patient pack that made them. The cheetah will accelerate into the morning, briefly the fastest thing on the plain, and then slow and rest. The flamingo will stand, pink and still, in shallow water. The dung beetle will lift its head to the stars. The welwitschia will unfold its ancient leaves in the Namib fog. And somewhere in the Kalahari, in the high mountain meadows of Ethiopia, In the green darkness of the Congo, in the cold waters of the Cape, something is alive right now that has no name yet. Something patient and particular, shaped by a landscape and a problem and a million years of trying, waiting to be found. Or perhaps content, in its quiet way, not to be. The world is very large, and very old, and very full of things still living in the dark. Let the continent settle in you now, slowly, the way dust settles after the herd has passed. You have moved, in your own still way, through the Serengeti's long grass, and the Namib's ancient dunes, and the dense, breathing green of the Congo. You have heard, in some small way, the lion's roar, and the flamingo's murmur, and the cheetah's quiet chirp. And now the sounds are fading. One by one, the way sounds fade at the end of a day. Not gone, only receding, back into the distance they came from. Feel the weight of where you are, the surface beneath you, the warmth around you, the breath moving in and out, without asking anything of you. The elephant is still out there, somewhere in the dark, listening through the ground. The baobab still stands. The stars are still there, the ones the beetle steers by, the ones that were old, before any of this began. Let your breath slow now. Let the weight of you settle. The wild world continues, without you, and that is all right. You are here, still, small, and safe.